Alright, welcome back to another league race. This time we're with DNS, and this time we are at round number 3, which is the China. So, as you can see, we've got a rain-affected qualifying session, but a dry race. So, nothing really changes in that sense. You're still going to load the dry setup and do what you got to do. So, this is the end of my first run, I believe. Coming across the line. Unfortunately, I didn't have time to change my helmet to my normal helmet, but I set visual pole with a 44.2, and then I go on for another lap after that. So basically, I just filled up and went for like 3 or 4 laps, all in a row. Basically, I hope to find time again. We improved 44.1, so getting steadily quicker as the session goes on. The weather kind of stayed the same, so the track really stayed the same throughout the whole session, but others did eventually start getting some better times in as well. You can see we're down to P2, but coming across the line, I'm going to do another lap at 43.9 then, which goes provisional pole, and this is still my first run, first kind of few laps. So yeah, happy to get that lap in, and then we go into the pits, and basically it was get another set of inters on and go straight back out basically, and just fill up until the end of the session and just keep going for laps. I made a muck of the first 2 and eventually came down to 1 lap to get it right, and we're going to show that lap here. So we're in P3 at the moment, and this is an absolutely storming lap for myself. I have to say, taking turn 1, just as you unwind, just try and rotate the car as best as you can through it, run a little bit wide here, but get on the throttle so we make up a little bit of time in the end on what we had previously. Well, compared to what we were, like we were 10th down, but we're still just over 300s or so, or just about less than that now, down on our best time. I think pole's a 43.7 at the moment, not too sure. As we make way through sector 2, downshift, and then try and get in the throttle, stick as tight to that line as possible. And then again through, I think, turn 8 then as well. Same through 9, trying to hug that apex. At this point in the lap I was thinking, oh, this is a good one. This could be a good lap. And it all came together though, I think, at this section. So heading down to turn 11, or that's turn 12 I think, and then unwinding from 13. Hug that line as well as not running yourself too wide on the throttle. And at this point now I was like, oh yes, here we go. This could be the lap. This could be the lap to get me on pole position. We're almost 4/10 up. The session is about to finish. There's 10 seconds left. It's now or never. If I want this pole position, I don't want to be stuck in traffic like I was in Bahrain. A little bit wide on the entry of that turn, but get a good exit. And then coming through the last turn, I think I downshift 3 times. Not as good of a run as before, but it's going to be good enough for pole position, 43.5. And I was extremely happy with that lap. Relief was the word, but there it is. I'm on pole position. I have Caesar ahead of not on pole, and then Joe and SJD, who was here today. So there we go. That was a very satisfying lap, but of course now the wet qualifying left to be an interesting strategy to choose for the race. Well, not interesting because it's the softs and that's it. You choose the ultra softs, you deserve to die on lap 5. So here we go then. 3, 4, 5 red lights. And away we go. That's a decent start. I'm going to just run over slightly to the right just to cover that line. Make sure Caesar doesn't get any ideas as we try and unwind through turn 1. Try not to let him go up my inside there. Try not to leave the space if I can, to make sure he doesn't get any ideas. When I say not leave the space, I mean try to cover it off before he gets alongside me, where I have to leave him space. But we get the job done, and now we can just get after it now, just kind of settle into the race. Absolute carnage will take place behind. Absolute carnage will take place behind now. And there is Trench involved. Archie's going to be out. Trench's going to be out. Not on pole was involved in that accident as well. So what I did though was just spread the field completely. I left SGD 10 with wing damage in 3rd. So basically left me and Caesar just to basically run out front basically and just see what we can do. And I expected a very close race at this stage, so I was. And that was kind of it for lap 1. Lap 2 now we're going to get the hammer down a bit now, setting the purple sector 2. But Caesar's still there. You can see the gap that we have over the rest of the field. And I knew he wasn't quite close enough to make a move, so I knew I was kind of safe. I didn't feel any threat from behind. So that's lap 2, and you're going to hear for some live commentary now from this next corner.
Fucking rumble straight.
Oh, I've been hit from behind. Wow. He's literally just absolutely demolished me. Sees. Damn right. Bloody hell. So that was definitely not something I was expecting, to be absolutely demolished with that from behind. He got an official warning for that afterwards, so definitely took me by surprise. I was afraid that I could end up with a lot more damage or even the retirement, but thankfully it wasn't the case. It was Caesar did damage his wing, and that kind of took away the threat from him, but it put me into the pack a bit closer to George, closer to SJD, so definitely lost quite a bit of time with that, but at least we get to carry on. Definitely took me by surprise, so I was not expecting that. So anyways, there we are on going on to lap 6. The gap is, you can see it comes across the line now. George is 5 seconds, so he got by SJD with that wing damage, and I'm stretching the gap to 5 seconds, 5.5 seconds. That was kind of where it was at for a good chunk of this first stint. You can see now heading on from lap 10 to lap 11. I wanted to stretch these softs for as long as I could, get the most out of the mediums, some good performance out of the mediums. So my fastest lap of the race then, so I decided to turn them into rich and high and stretch my legs a bit, and you can see they extended the gap to 6 seconds. So good time of the race for me. I'm in good position, very good position. Basically waiting to see if George or not on pole will. When I say George, it's not on pole. I just used to say George. If George will go into the pits or not, and if he does, I can respond to him. I've got that gap to do so. So lap 13 now, we're basically doing almost half the race on this tyre, and I'm thinking, yep, this is time to pit. There's a nice little gap. I want to wait for other people to pit as well, so I didn't come out into traffic. And so here we go, then we're diving into the pits, lap 13, on the 7 medium tyres. Could have done a better pit entry, but alas, coulda, woulda, shoulda. So here we go then. Mediums to the end of the race. The Ferraris will go by, as George has also gone by, but the Ferraris are mediums and they've to pit, so, and I know they'll pit in a few laps as well because they want to get the most out of those softs. So there they go, and they're in a nice window where I don't really have to worry too much about catching up to the back of them. You see Caesar now coming around the final corner. He's going to have to make another stop though, because he pitted very early after making contact with me. And these medium tyres are a little bit slow to get up to temperature, so Caesar was able to catch a little bit. But eventually I got them warmed up, and then lap 14 head on to lap 15. This is when the gap you can see right in front is 6 seconds to Carl. SJD 10 is just pitted. So that's where we're at with this one. Lap 15 and to lap 16 now. And I'm going to do the fastest lap of the race as Carl pits. So 34.8 setting the time. And George now at this point, he is trying to stretch those softs as long as he can to bonus out of ultras, which I thought was an absolutely terrible strategy. And it was, to be fair. It was a bad strategy. But everything's going to kick off now quite soon. Again, 12 seconds, so he's limping on those softs. Sure, I mean, getting close to a penalty. But now we're going to head into. I think we're going to head into some live radio from the race. He's still going. Yeah. 18 laps on soft tires. Yeah, like he's gonna be like when he comes down the ultras. If that's what I assume that's what he's doing at this stage. He'll be absolutely rapid for 3 laps, and then after that,
and then just lose
he'll fall back
pace.
to reality. I say mediums I can understand, but fuck off! You are fucking joking me. Oh. So that was literally the worst thing that could have happened. First of all, how flippin' unlikely is it a safety car that comes out? And how, of course, it actually is. This shook the race absolutely on its head, because we have to stick to the delta. George has not pitted. I have pitted, and I've done a racing pit stop, so I've taken the full brunt of the 20 odd seconds. Whereas George can go into the pits, put on whatever tyre he wants now to the end of the race, and he'll still be in front because we have to stick to the delta. So absolute disaster timing. This race was in the bag because George had to pit. He had to make a stop, and he was going to end up behind me. But his gamble has paid off to the absolute extreme, and now he can now put on whatever tire he wants. So for myself, I have to react to this as well now, and not just get caught by the fact that the safety car is there. I was like, oh, shout, I have to do something now here as well. I checked to see if I had another set of fresh softs available. I did. I didn't feel comfortable on the ultra softs at this time of the race. I knew they're a bad tire, and that they would flip and they would fall off before the end of the race, especially from lap 19. So I had another set of softs. I came in and put those softs on because I had the leeway to do so. But George is actually going to put on ultra soft, so he's going to go ultra aggressive and go for the ultras. I'm thinking, okay, interesting. I know I've got pace, and those ultras surely will fall off before the end of the race. And if they do, I'll be in a position then to take advantage. So that was the thinking. It was very risky for George to put on ultra softs with 8 laps to go. I know we're under safety car, but like it was risky. It was definitely risky. But the key detail that is going to happen here is that there's 2 cars between me and George, even though we're 1 and 2 on the track. There's Mercandise's ghost car, and then there's RWE. So crucially there between me and George on the safety car restart. So I'm dependent on the ghost car and the lapped car to try and, who's also got to stay behind the ghost car, who can't react in time compared to say George. So already I'm in a very nasty position here. So here I again, lap 21 ends lap 22. I still felt good enough that yes, those ultras should die off before then, but we'll have to see. It's going to be very, very tight. Getting ready then for the restart. I haven't done the best job warming my tyres up, to be fair, but we've saved fuel, we've saved ERS, we are ready to go. And here we go then, green light. You can see George is already gone, man. He's already gone. Because no one can overtake that ghost car until the safety car line, which is basically around now. But which time George is already into the turn, and he's gone, man. He is absolutely gone. To the point now where I am now 2.8 seconds behind him, and we haven't even got to turn 1 yet. So already my work is cut out, and he's going to be quicker for the first few laps on those ultra soft. Sasha, thankfully, RWE, I should say, gets out the way very quickly, to be fair. So thanks to him for that. But yeah, it left you with a lot of work to do against George, because he's going to be ultra rapid on those ultras for the first few laps. And I was pushing so hard at the back and was getting away from me. I was always under pressure from Joe from behind, but had to keep pushing. Head on to lap 23, he's on a 34.1, so, and I've only done a 35.5, so he's 4.2 seconds ahead. So it's an awful lot to come back from this stage on, but I have to hope that the tyres with that 26, 27, 28 to begin to go off. And it's just going to be a whole bunch of sector times basically. So I did a 34.4, gap was still 4.2 seconds, so it's not enough. I need to be getting a bit more done, but it's, I was pushing for everything that these softs were worth. And I tried, man. I did try. And on the lap 25, 33.9 for George. I did a 34 flap myself, so the gap is still 4.4 seconds though, so it's very, very difficult. The more and more laps are running out, the more and more time I've got to make up once those ultras die off. Heading on to lap 26. 4 seconds, so the gap is coming down a little bit now. There's 3 laps. I was hoping maybe those ultras might fall off now before the end of the race. 3.8 seconds. It's coming down, but it's not coming down by enough. With only 2 laps to go, it's going to be difficult now to try and get this win. We've left Joe and Carl behind. There's been other retirements here and there now. Caesar's gone, SJD is gone. But just trying, man. Even through this first sector, I made up a boatload of time as well. See now the gap is just 3.6 seconds, so we're getting there. And then lap 28, the final lap, was when things really started to become interesting. The gap down to 3 seconds, and it just came down and down and down from there, but it wasn't enough. The ultras definitely fell off by this stage. Like, the gap now is 2.1 seconds, so I've made so much time up on this lap alone, but it's not going to be enough. I've run out of laps If there was one more lap, I think I would have got him. But it's a 28 lap race, not a 29 lap race, and because of that, it's going to be P2 today. So we're going to get close. I think we're going to get to 1.7 seconds in the end. But I think ultimately, we'll get to that when we cross the line. But anyways, coming to the second to last corner, I did everything I could this race. I did everything I could perfectly, I think. And it wasn't enough today. So anyways, George's going to win. Fair play to him. He made that strategy work somehow. And I'm going to come second. So extremely disappointed to have a race slip away from me like that. 9 times out of 10. I almost feel 9.5 times out of 10. That strategy for George does not work, and I win that race very easily. But that's how it works. Safety car came out at the perfect time for him. He made the ball call to go on the ultras. They lasted long enough to keep himself in front. But really, I think that would have backfired. But for the fact that if I hadn't had traffic between myself and him, the ghost car and RWE, who had to adhere to the ghost car in front of him, I wouldn't have fallen 2.8 seconds behind by the first corner, and I think I could have done him. So, but alas, he got the restart right. He called it right in the end. The tires did fall off, and it only worked for him because he got the jump on the ghost car. So 1.7 seconds in the end there. Desperately disappointed now to have to lose that, but that's how it goes. Yeah, I feel like I did the perfect race, made the right calls, and drove really, really well. But sadly, it wasn't enough this time around. But maybe it will be on other occasions, but just not today, sadly. So anyway, that's going to do it for round number 3. China for DNS. Next up is Baku. And I'm hoping to exact revenge over what I feel definitely should have been my race win today. So anyways, that's going to do it. And thanks for watching, and until next time.